Hey there, my name is Joseph. I am a Salesforce consultant at Solved, and in this video, I am going to be discussing how Data Cloud determines what data to use. So Data Cloud is capable of bringing in multiple types of data sources, whether they be internal or external. External being Google Ads, Amazon S3, or Snowflake. And yeah, there's a lot of different connectors that Data Cloud can bring in. So in this example, in the demo I have here, we have two different connectors, a Salesforce CRM connector, and then an Amazon S3, which is just a CSV file in an S3 bucket in AWS. So both of these data streams have similar information. This one is very simple, it just has birthday, a reference number, email, first name, and last name, along with this classic data stream for the CRM, which just has most of the standard fields that a contact would have in Salesforce. So what we're going to need to do here is unify the profiles using identity resolution. Identity resolution is just the way to make sure that we're combining similar records. So if there's two people with the same information, for example, the same email or number, we're going to combine them into one unified profile. There's a couple of precursors to that. First off, we'll have to use the data model objects, which is just a data model of what we brought in, and map them to the correct data model objects. So in Data Cloud, they use a couple of different objects to help unify the profiles. So for example, this is the data lake of the Amazon S3, and here's just the simple fields I have here. So they're data model entities that we have to connect them to in order for Data Cloud to understand this is how I want to unify the profiles. So there's contact point email and then individual on this one. Individual is usually just things about the person. And then contact point is how you would contact them. So this one just has the email since that's all there is here. But in the other data stream, when we go to the mapping, you'll notice that there's several different types of contact points. So there's a typical contact point, there's contact point address, there's email, contact point phone, individual, and all of these are important depending on what information you have coming from your data stream. So in order to get this mapped, in order for identity resolution to work, you have to map the primary key. So in this case, we're mapping the contact ID to all of these, and also a party ID. So party is just something you would use to identify the type of information that's coming in. So an example of a party ID is a license or some way to identify. So in this case, I'm just using contact ID as well, since that's the way to identify this since it's coming from the Salesforce CRM. And the other one, I would use the party identifier as the customer reference number. So you need the party for this to come through, and then just the typical fields such as first name, last name for the individual ID, contact, the phone, email, and so forth. So once you have your data modeled, you can go ahead and go to identity resolution and create a new identity resolution. So there's a new rule set here. I already created one, so I'm not actually going to create this, but I'm going to match it on the individual, and there's an optional 4 digits or 4 characters that you can add for your rule set ID. And then once you create it, you can match it to the individual, which here we're going to have something called match rules and reconciliation rules. Match rules is how you're going to match these the sources into one profile. So for this one, we're doing the fuzzy name and normalized email. So since the data stream has the email from the S3, it can use that and match those with the contact information from the Salesforce CRM. So that's the match rules. There's different types of match rules that you can do. There's fuzzy name there with email, phone, address, and then phone and normalized email, or you can make your own. So that's how you do that there. So now we know what the match rules are. Then after that, this is reconciliation rules, which is going to answer the question, how does Data Cloud determine what data to use if there's multiple data sources coming in with the same or similar information? So for example, this one, the data stream we have has two sets of emails, one coming in from the S3 bucket and then one coming in from the contact. Here, we can determine what the reconciliation rule should be, or how does it determine which one to use. The default reconciliation is most frequent. So if there's more than two, so like three or four data sources are coming in with emails and 3 out of the 4 have the same email, it's going to use that one. You can update the default reconciliation rule. There's 3 different, there's last updated and then source priority. And so last updated would just be whichever data source is updated the last. And then the source priority is just which one. So here I can determine whether the S3 gets priority or the contact CRM, the contact from the Salesforce CRM gets priority. So that's how you can determine what data to use. And you can also, not all of these have to be the same reconciliation rule. You can also just update it, selected to have a different rule. So that is how you would determine the data that Data Cloud will use for your unified profile. Just as a review, we use the data stream to bring the data in. Then we have to map the objects to a data model. And using identity resolution, we can unify and harmonize the data for us to use for Agentforce or other things. And then using the rule sets, we can determine how to match the data and which data source will be used for the most accurate and up-to-date data. If you have any other questions, we're still going to be doing some more Data Cloud videos and Agentforce videos on the page for Solved. And if you have any other needs, then Solved is happy to help. And that's it for this video. Thanks.